I welcome you guys back to my next video, which is how to gain agility. You have to understand, in order for yourself to gain agility, you need to be a peak performer today. You have to understand, it's about inspirational people. You have to understand, those people who are inspiring, I promise you go to them, because those people are going to help you to gain agility. I promise you it's about flexibility too. You have to understand that flexibility is something that you can schedule today in terms of freedom and in terms of journaling. You have to understand that agility has everything to do with health. And those people who can stretch are the people who have agility. So make sure that you can stretch every day. I promise you that no matter what, you keep the doctors away, because that way you're going to have more agility. And that way you're going to understand that when you gain agility, you're a person who understands freedom. You're a person who understands to never work a 9-to-5 job, because you're a person who has more time management. And to have time management is to have agility, because guess what? When you have time and you have more of it, you'll have more to be thankful about, and you understand that agility is more time. So make sure that no matter what, you're a person who understands much greater than you are, and that way you're going to have more agility, because knowledge alone will get you there. So be a person who has more knowledge, and that way you're going to have more agility to really live life much greater. You have to understand that those people who have a greater life are the ones who are doing it every single day. I promise you they're the ones who have skills, and skills alone will get you agility. So you have to understand that those people who can walk have agility, although you have to understand that most people are walking slow. You have to be the one who is walking faster than everybody else in a learning way, where you're learning faster than everybody else, because that's agility. You have to understand it's really your ability to catch information and apply it. I promise you that's called agility, because those people who are fast have agility. You understand? I promise you speed and everything to do with speed and athleticism is called agility. You have to understand that those people who can really live a long life are the ones who are more flexible and have more agility to make sure that they are living life in the process. You have to understand it's really about your freedom and what are you doing today to make sure that you can help other people, because if you're not kind, you have no agility. In a sense, so make sure you're a person who can really live. You're a person who's focusing on the inside, you're focusing on your passion, you're focusing on something that you said, you're making sure that each and every time you're pumped up to make sure that you can finish your goals in a way that you can complete them, and then you make more goals in the process. You have to understand you keep consistent every single day. You make sure that no matter what, you're dedicated, and that way you're not missing out on information, because every time you do a video, you have to make sure that way you're doing something positive. You make sure no matter what that you understand that positive people are more of the people who have agility than the ones who are negative. So make sure that you're a positive person around life, and that way you're going to understand that when you're a person who's going inward, you're going to have more agility, because you're looking inside, because inside is where the love is, and inside is where the happiness is. And that way you understand that those people who do their passions every single day are the ones who are giving their best, and that way you're doing it for free, and you're never doing it for money, because you're worth more than $25 an hour. In a sense, so make sure that you understand that it's for freedom that you work for, and you never work for money, because those people who work for money never have agility. You understand? I need you to understand you never work for money, you work for freedom. You understand? Because guess what? The Anzacs in Australia went to fight for freedom. I promise you never did it for money. In a sense, so understand that you're a person who goes and studies everything that you can, because that's how you build agility. You have to understand it's really about knowledge. You have to understand it's really about skills, and what you're doing today to make sure that you have disciplines and to have freedom in life, because when you're going the freeway, you're going to save more money, you're going to have more health, you're going to have more wealth, you're going to be a person who is encouraging others to really live life. You're really doing something foundational every single day. You're making sure that you're communicating in a better way. You're making sure that you have what it takes every single day to do better, because that way you have more agility and you'll gain more agility. You understand? So be that type of person who understands they're looking inside for everything in terms of your aspect of life, where you can understand that you're a person who has the freedom that you need, you have the mindset, you have the capability, which is also the potential that you need, which is also the talent, and which is also the ability that you need to succeed. And you go and create your own abilities, you understand? So it all comes from inside. You have to understand that a person will never teach you anything, because you have to understand it's really that you go and apply the ideas that are given, and that way you'll teach yourself. You understand that you are your own teacher. You are your own guru. I am not your guru. You understand? Because you understand the guru is within you. You have to understand that nobody's going to teach you anything. You have to understand it's really that you go and apply the best information and go and teach yourself. You understand? Because that way I do it. I make sure that no matter what, I got myself around positive mentors. I got myself the ideas. I had to go and apply them, because nobody else did it for me. You understand? Because life is about disciplines, and those people who have disciplines have agility. I promise you those people who have more disciplines are the people who are more successful. So you have to understand that in order for yourself to increase your time and to make sure that you stay away from most of the people in the crowd, because you're the 1% of the world who's going to lead people, I promise you that's called agility. In a sense, so be that type of person who can understand a greater life. I promise you can understand a greater life when you are doing something much more worthy. You have to understand that building your self-esteem and your confidence and your self-management and who you are, you have to understand you're becoming a better person in the process. I promise you that way you're going to understand agility. You understand that those people who are doing something foundational every single day, I promise you they're the ones who are showing up. I promise you they're the ones who are really never blaming other people. I promise you never making excuses. You're never a person who has nothing to say. You're doing something, you're making sure that you're a person just promoting yourself, and that way you're doing your work on the street and you're making sure that you don't care about anybody who doesn't hear you, because that way you guys can hear me, and that way once I really do much better than I am, you understand that no matter what, I'm always doing better. You have to understand I'm always doing better because guess what? I never pass away, although I leave something behind anyway, you understand? So be that type of person who can leave a legacy behind, and you're teaching along the way, and you're making sure no matter what, that it's a slow journey. You understand? I'm the person who is a turtle today. You understand? Slow and steady wins the race. You understand? Because guess what? I'm here on the street. I've got some attention today. I've got some success today. You understand? Because that's what it's all about. You understand? So be that type of person who has the smart ass attitude. You understand? Because those people who never like you are the ones who never need to be you. You understand? So that way you understand that you be the person who is unique in your own aspect of life, and you never care about the other people, because guess what? I promise you, the ones who hate you, I promise you, will never be you. Understand? So you never need other people to be you. You be someone unique, because that way you have more success, and the ones who hate you will never ever have your success. Understand? So make sure that you're a person who just lives a better life, and that way you understand that you're free. You're free to do anything. I'm free to do anything because I make sure to every day I make sure to love my life. I have to make sure that every time I live my life in a greater way, because those people who are great, I realize that those people who are great are the ones who are living life much greater. You have to understand that when I live a lifestyle where I can really profile in a better way, you have to understand you need to do that. You have to realize that it's about a better way. You have to realize it's about skills. You have to realize it's about your technique and how you're going to bring it to the table, and how you're going to teach people with that. I mean, how you're going to lift people with that. You understand? Because that's how you build a business. You understand? Because when you're spamming people online and people are saying, I don't care about your work, man. I don't care about what you have to say. You understand? I mean, that's very discouraging. You understand? So you go and do it for free anyway. You understand? Because guess what? A lot of people are going to discourage you about who you are and about your greatness in life. I promise you greatness is within. Because anybody who doesn't believe that you're great, I promise you that means they are not great in people. I promise you they're not great people then. Because what you need to realize is you need to lift people anyway. And it's never about are you great or not. I realize it's about growth. I realize it's about freedom. I realize it's about being a better person. So making sure that personal development is number one in your life. I realize that's the way to go. I realize it's really about becoming something greater. I realize it's about having a better attitude. I realize it's about focusing on your ability and your mindset to make sure that you're giving the words that you need to say every single day to make sure that you have what it takes to succeed. I realize that when I let go, I can use my nice, beautiful emotions. I can look around. I can make sure no matter what, I can look at people. I realize that those people have emotions. You have to use it. You have to use your heart. You have to make sure that your heart is always much more ready than yesterday. And that way you can understand that you can understand people much greater with the EQ. You have to understand it's really about building a foundational mindset where you can understand that your emotions rule the world. You understand? So those people who understand their emotions are the ones who have EQ, and the ones who have the EQ are the ones who can really lift. You have to understand, you lift yourself, you make sure you do some Tai Chi, you have to make sure that you're doing some Kung Fu and something that's really going to help you to do martial arts or something like that, where you understand that you need to be more self-disciplined, and that's the whole point of that. You have to understand that those people who are using their emotions to be around people are the ones who are going to succeed, because guess what? Eventually you have to calm down and you have to let go, and that way you understand you'll be a better person in the process. I promise you, it's about realizing that your emotions are more aware than your mind. You understand? So be in the body, and that way you're going to sink in the moment. You have to realize when you sink in the moment, you'll be more agility. You'll be a person who's growing. You'll be a person who can really tell what's going on. I realize that I am vibrating all the way throughout inside, you understand? So make sure no matter what, you hear me much greater. You understand? Because to hear much greater in life is to be a better person. So be that type of person who can do that. I realize it's about listening in a greater way, because the more you listen, I promise you, the more you learn. I promise you, the more you are a student. I promise you, the more you have something to say. I realize that most people never care about you, because guess what? They don't care about themselves. You understand? So no matter what, be a person who's just lifting other people anyway. You understand? Because when you're a person who understands something greater, you understand that you need to be free. You need to be a free person where you can understand, you elaborate with your heart, and you make yourself a heart of gold. You understand? You have something to give. You're giving something of wisdom. You're giving something to make sure that no matter what happens, you're never a person who is a sarcastic person. You're a smart ass in a way that you understand that you never look at others. You focus on yourself, and you make sure that any negativity, you block it out, and that way you're going to be a positive one who's always hitting the tennis ball that is positive. You understand? You be a positive tennis ball, which is a human being. I thank you very much for it. I thank you. I realize that no matter what, you understand that this person just gave me a chocolate. You have to understand that I am a vegan though. You have to understand that no matter what, I appreciate the kind gesture. You have to understand, those people who understand a better life and give you something, you receive it, please, you receive it, and then you can go and give it to somebody else. You have to understand, you just go be a better person in the process, you understand? Because that way you're going to live with the heart, you're going to be with the emotions, you're going to realize that emotions is key, and that way you're going to build more agility. Because those people who have more heart are the ones who are more athletic, and they're also people who have more energy skills, and then the ones who are understanding a greater way of life. I promise you, when you live in the body, you'll be living in the moment. You understand? Because it's about the moment. You have to understand you're living in the heart, making sure you project the heart, and making sure that no matter what, you understand people and what they're saying. You have to understand that your emotions can understand everything to life. You have to understand that when you're speaking from the heart and your emotions, you're speaking from a better dimension, you're speaking from a spiritual dimension, you're understanding that people can see your Instagram, because guess what? When you're promoting it in front of a crowd, you understand, because you'll get some nice beautiful views. You understand that no matter what, you focus on your video, you can also focus anywhere that's inside, because when you're living in the body, that's where you are in life. You have to live in the body, as Eckhart Tolle says. You understand? So be that type of person who understands your emotions, because when you self-regulate, if a person has nice beautiful EQ skills every single day, you have to realize every single day I wake up, I dance in the mirror for about 3 minutes. I put on some trance music, I then start to do these dance moves in a new way. I then get better as a dancer. You understand? So every time I do something that's dancing in a new way, I get better in a new way. I have to do something that's different all the time. I have to make sure that I'm always learning and growing in a way that's going to help me. I have to make sure that I'm always doing something foundational in my life, to make sure I'm building my maturity in front of the crowd, and also speaking at the same time to make sure my communication skills are always better. I have to be that type of person always. I have to always be that type of person who can grow. I have to be that type of person who has the inside of me to make sure that I can grow. I realize that when you have freedom, you're going to be somebody who can actually live life much greater. You be a greater person. You're never a pervert. You're never a person who is negative. You're never doing zoophilia and all of that. You understand? Because zoophilia has a lot to do with sex. I realize it has to do with sex with animals, so never be a zoophilia person. You understand? So be a person who understands you have all the sex in the world in growth. You understand? So be that type of person who can understand there is always a better way. I realize there's always a better way, where you understand that your heart is the best way. You go and lead with the heart, you go and lead yourself to greatness. You understand when you're cold, you say I'm not cold, because there's nothing to be cold about. It's really about yourself and your growth and how you're growing today. And that way, I'm always growing through books, I'm always growing through wisdom, I'm always growing through more communication skills, because the more communication skills I give, I promise you, the more spiritual I get. I promise you, that's what it's all about. I promise you, it's about your practice. I mean, you have to practice something, you understand? Because guess what? Djokovic at 21, I promise you won the Australian Open. I promise you before that, I promise you he started at 5 years of age. I promise you he started tennis, and he started to hit the ball so many times. And guess what? Now he's a 7-time Grand Slam champion of Australia. And so be a person who understands that in order for you to accomplish anything, you have to practice, and you have to practice, and you have to practice each and every day. You have to understand that practice is called agility. And those people who are agility driven are the ones who are also action takers. You need to be an action taker who is really more foundational in what you're doing. You're looking for everything in terms of inside, and what you're going to say, that's from the inside. You have to understand that your feelings can say anything right now. You have feelings, you use it, you use your emotions, you use your energy, you make sure no matter what, you're always a person who's never a regretful person, you're a person who has no depression, you're a person who has much more freedom, and that way you understand that you can help others get freedom. You understand? So if you're a person who can understand how to grow, you can understand how to do anything. You understand? So it's really about growing more and more. I don't know what I'm saying, although I'm better than yesterday. You understand? And that way you understand that I leave room for improvement. I need to leave room for improvement, because each and every time I promote myself, I really promote myself in a way to make sure I can grow. I have to make sure I stand in front of a crowd and also hear myself as I speak with a crowd. You understand? So I speak with a crowd, I never speak against the crowd. You have to understand, I speak to lift the crowd only. You understand? Because those people who are lifting the crowd are also with the crowd, lifting them up. You understand? So be that type of person who is a leader, and always leading in a foundational way to make sure that you have more agility and you're looking better. and you're always a person who is classy. You're making sure that you have elegance. You're making sure you're a person who can understand a much greater deal of empathy, and you have it in you right now to make sure that you can lead with the heart, and also make sure that no matter what, you can also let go. You can also be a person who can let go and let God. You understand? Because those people that let go are going to be the one in terms of life who can be foundational. You can do something amazing. You can really understand your life much greater. You can practice your emotional ability in front of people, and that way you understand that it's all the money in the world. You understand? Because you're free. You're free to talk. You're free to do something amazing. You're free to let go and let God. And that way you understand you're forgiving, you're allowing, and that's called agility. You have to understand, you be that type of person who can understand spirituality in all aspects of its foundation, where you're letting go and you're letting life, and that way you understand you're going to be a free person who's always free-falling in a way that you're growing. And that way you're going to understand that no matter what happens, you're just going to be a person growing in a process. You grow in a process in a way where you can understand to communicate with your emotions while you're letting go. You have to understand you connect the dots together where you're using your emotions to connect with yourself every single day to make sure no matter what happens, you're a person who's focusing more on yourself than others. And that way you're going to be a person who has more agility, you're going to be a person who has more confidence, you're going to have more ability and skills, which is all talent. In a sense, so the more talent you have is the more you can write. In a sense, so you be a person who can write more, and then you can communicate more. You understand? And that way, when you're communicating more, you're going to do something foundational in your life. You're going to do something amazing. You're going to do something that's really worth it. You have to understand that today I've had some support. I also have some support with I, because when I give myself support, you also gain support. You have to be a person who's really promoting yourself in a way that no matter what happens, you be a person of high integrity. You be a person who can lead other people. You're dropping in a way that you're letting go only. You're never dropping yourself into failure. You're picking yourself up from failure. You're picking yourself up from adversity and from your circumstances, and you're creating a better life for yourself. You are a person who is a creator, and you have to learn to be a better one in the process. So the best way is to make sure you have more information. You're applying more information in a different way. You're doing your nice, beautiful videos and audios, and making sure that you're also creating more books and quotes along the way, because the more you write and talk, I promise you, the more agility you have. In a sense, so be that type of person who's always more with agility and more with those people who have agility, because those people who have agility are the peak performers of life. I promise you, they're the 1% of people doing much more than everybody else. You need to focus your life in a better way and use your emotions, because your emotions rule the world. You understand? So your emotions are everything in life, and the more you have emotion in life, the higher you can feel. I promise you can vibrate. I promise you can talk. I promise you can limit yourself to nothing. You understand? You never limit yourself. You make sure that you live in emotions, because that way you'll be unlimited, and that's called how to gain agility. You understand? Because when you're gaining agility, you're unlimited. In a sense, so be an unlimited person in a way that you understand that no matter what happens, you're connecting the dots together, and you're making sure you're talking about in a different way every single time, and you're letting go, and you understand that when you're in your feeling, you never hurt anybody. You understand? So if you're a person who is poisoning your feelings today, you understand that you have less agility, because those who are drug addicts never have agility, because they're very slow people. You have to understand, you never be a slow person, you be a fast person who can really talk fast, and you're doing everything fast, you're learning fast, because life is about being fast about everything. You understand? You're fast to understand, you're fast to talk, you're fast to dress, you're fast to have a shower, you're fast to do a video, you're just fast, you understand? I need you to understand that slow and steady wins the race though. You have to understand that the slower you are while you're learning faster and faster, the greater you are. So be that type of person who can understand that whatever's happening around the world, you're focusing inside your body, and that way you're going to be a better person for it. You understand? Because it's really about your confidence, and how are you really talking to people, and how can you really be a better person for it. You understand? Because those people who understand a better life are the ones who are really speaking in front of a crowd, and you have to understand it's really about attention, and you have to give yourself the attention in the world and all of it to make sure that you can love yourself all the time. I realize it's really about that. I realize it's really about making sure that no matter what happens, you're a person who is really lifting others, and that way you're going to have more agility, because you understand what growth is, you understand what vibing is in a better way. You have to understand that when you're going to live concerts or something like that, I promise you it has to be something that's really growing you. Otherwise, it's going to be nothing at all. You understand? So make sure you're always growing yourself in the process, you're enjoying the process, you're making sure that you're free, you're making sure that you're doing something foundational that's really going to help you. I realize that is the best way. I realize the best way is now. I realize that when you're doing that, you're going to have a nice, beautiful attitude, and attitude is gratitude. So make sure you have more gratitude in your life, and that's all the freedom you ever need. You have to understand that gratitude is going to lift you, and it's really being a graceful person. You need to be that type of person all the time. You be that type of person where you're lifting the crowd and you're making other people interested. You're making sure that no matter what, you can speak in a much better way, because when you're speaking in a much better way, you understand that you need to connect the dots much better, and you need to realize that you need to get more comfortable in front of a crowd while also making sure you're letting go. And that way you understand that you never be tense. You never be tense around your body, because when you're too tense, you're angry and you're resenting and you're jealous. You understand? So make sure that you are a person who's letting go of your emotions in a way that you're disciplining yourself and you're winding emotions down. You're talking with the heart, you're letting go, and you're free falling into failure, although you're lifting yourself up in the process. You have to understand that life is about lifting yourself. You have to understand that life is about agility. You have to understand that life is about being a peak performer and making sure that you are the best of the best in the world. Understand? So make sure you do it for free today. I have to also make sure that no matter what, I'll just pause my video. I'll pause my video for a second so I can realize that I can charge it. I realize no matter what that I really have to charge my video in terms of my phone, because my phone is, I realize that my phone is on 5%. Although now I have my portable charger, so make sure guys that you really invest in one, because that's the way, I like it, You understand? So make sure no matter what, you're a person who has agility every single day, and that way you're going to understand what freedom is. You're going to understand that freedom is to be accounted for in your own terms. You're making sure you're abbreviating your aspects of life. You're making sure you're number one in life. You're making sure you have peace in life. You're making sure no matter what, that peaceful intent is going to get you agility. You have to understand that those people who have agility are the ones who are using their emotions more, and they're using it much more freely, and making sure no matter what, they're getting the information across. So you're making sure that you're learning in front of a crowd, and you're making sure that you're a person who has what it takes to succeed, because it all comes from within. And those people who have a within lifestyle are the ones who are more successful. So be that type of person who has a lifestyle that is much greater than yesterday and greater than your peers, because those people who are really more successful are the ones who can really inspire. So be that type of person who can inspire every day, and that way you'll have more agility, and you'll make sure to always lift the crowd, because that way you're going to inspire, and that way you're going to be more of a leader, and you're always a smart ass. You're making sure you're a smart ass, and you're making sure you're learning from each and every single moment. You're making sure you're learning from each and every single moment in your life, because those people who learn can grow, and those people who yearn to grow are the ones who are succeeding today. You have to understand you have to yearn much better. You have to understand you have to learn and to grow, and to realize that anything foundational in your life is going to be much successful than you are today. You understand? So make sure that you understand a much successful life, which is be better in the process. Be better in the process, and that way you understand to enjoy the journey. You have to enjoy everything in life. You have to enjoy what you're doing. You have to enjoy your freedom. You have to enjoy what's in store for you. You have to enjoy everything in terms of what you can be much more. You understand? So be that type of person who can understand much more than you are today, and that way you have more knowledge, you'll have more awareness, you'll be expanding your comfort zone, and that way when you're expanding your comfort zone, you have much more to give, and you're giving more in the process, and you're making sure that no matter what, you're a person who is high in life in terms of high energy and high skills and high riches. You understand? You have high communication skills, because a person who has poor communication skills has low communication skills, and those are the people who are doing drugs more. You have to understand that vocabulary is everything, and those people who have more vocabulary are the ones who are succeeding more, because guess what? I promise you, it's the people who are really learning more and having more in terms of their communication skills are the ones who can actually broaden their aspect of life and expand their comfort zone. So realize that no matter what, each and every day you're a person who's really foundational, and you're learning from each and every step of the process, because life is one step at a time. You have to understand that when you're one step at a time, you can do it. You can do it one step at a time. You never skip a beat. You never skip a hard step. You have to understand you skip no beats. You understand you just live in the moment, and you each and every time you make sure that you process your emotions and you process the information that's going on. You have to understand that you need to be a person who's always foundational in what you're saying and live up to it. You have to live up to your talk, and you have to make sure that no matter what, you're living up to a greater way of speaking. You have to understand it's really about how are you really doing in today's life, and how are you really going to measure up in a better way. You have to understand that those people who are measuring up in a better way are the ones who are learning to talk as they are in their emotions also. You have to understand that you have to live in your emotions to talk. And when you talk, you're talking from the heart, and you're letting go of the process. And also when you're letting go, you're growing while you're letting go. You have to understand, you have to give yourself that nice, beautiful gesture where you can understand that the safety net is growth. and those people who have a safety net of insurance where you're growing, you understand that you'll always be successful long term, because guess what, you have to believe that you're going to live much greater, and that way you understand to go for much greater in life, because that way you're going to build more agility. You're going to be a person who understands a greater lifestyle because you believe in something greater. You understand? So be that type of person who can understand something greater for yourself today. You have to understand that when you're doing it for yourself, you're doing it for something greater. So just put yourself number one, and that way something greater will say that you need something greater than that anyway. So make sure to be always number one, because number one is the greatest number, and you understand that one makes everything. You understand? So make sure that no matter what, you be a person today who's really studying upon how to have more empathy and how to really do everything in life, because that's how you build a business. And you have to understand you do it for free. You have to understand you do something today that's really going to encourage you to grow, and that way you understand that most of life is really, let's say, a shamble unless you're growing. You understand? So be that type of person who can grow. You're that type of person who can do anything, because you're never limited. You're never limited to the outside circumstances and what's going on. You're making sure you're learning from your emotions and what you have, and you're giving what you have every single day in a better way. You're making sure that you're doing something much more foundational in your emotions, and you're making sure that your emotions are healthy, because that's how you gain agility. In a sense, to make sure that you're that type of person who understands that no matter what you're doing, you're a person who's leading every aspect of your life in a better way, because no matter what, you just be a better person. You be a better person in the process. You be a person who's processing something much better. You have to understand that most of the crowd is negative, and you have to be the one who's leading the crowd anyway. You have to understand you go that way. You go the way of the leader. You understand? Because when you're a person who goes Toastmasters International, you have to understand you'll go where the public speaking is, and you also do it on the street too. You understand? And even though there may be an economic crisis around me, you have to understand I'm still lifting from it. I'm making sure that I'm always growing from it. You have to understand that I have never had an economic crisis inside of me, because guess what? I'm not determined by the outside world. I'm determined by what I do every single. I'm determined by what I do by every single day I live. You understand? So every single day that you're doing something more, I promise you, you're going to become more incredible. You're going to do something every single day to boost your mentality in a way that you can grow and be around people that are positive, because if you're around people too much, I promise you they're going to lead you astray. So be around the best people on the planet. I promise you those people are going to lead you in a better way. I promise you those people have the communication skills to get you there. I promise you those people are inspiring. I promise you those people have the emotional ability to help you to gain your emotions better. I promise you it's about having a more successful life and making sure that you're living a more full life. You understand? So be a person who has a cup that is full. You understand? So you're a person who's always overflowing. You're overflowing with wisdom and life. You're making sure that no matter what, that you pour all the love in your world as the Niagara Falls into life. You have to understand, you be a person who understands that you have the Niagara Falls inside of you right now. You have to understand that the life outside is inside only. You only focus on the inside world, you only focus on what's inside, and that way you're going to connect the dots, you're going to connect into a better emotional ability, and that way you're going to be more of a success. You understand? Because it's really about practicing and what you're going to do about it today. I realize no matter what, that today is really my day, because guess what? I'm growing, I'm making sure that every day I'm more mature than yesterday, and that way you're bettering your life, you're making sure that no matter what, you're practicing something that you are really excellent at, and you have to be better than that. You have to always be better than excellent. I'm always making sure I'm never limiting myself to any work. I'm always making sure that I'm increasing my skills in any way I can, because skills is knowledge, and the more knowledge you have, the better you are, and the more agility you have. So be that type of person who understands agility every single day much more and more, and always make sure that no matter what, each and every topic of your life, you're learning more about it. You have to understand, you write your story down, because that's how I promise you, that's how you gain agility. You gain agility through writing your story down and making sure that no matter what, you're feeling life, and when you feel life, you're talking about life in a way that you're positive about it, and you're only lifting. I promise you, you never focus on what's negative. I promise you, you focus on what's positive. I never ask the question what's negative. You understand? Because I never care about what's negative. I care about the trend of my life and how will I grow. I promise you, that's the only trend of my life today. I realize that I never care about the other people's trends. You understand? Because other people's trends never lead me in a better way. You have to understand, it's really, how can I grow today? And that's the best question you can ask yourself. You have to understand, it's really go and find yourself mentors and somebody who can grow you. I realize that's where the confidence is, because it's inside of you right now. And you have to realize that you have to boost it. You have to boost your confidence, and you have to realize you have to do whatever it takes. You have to understand that success is show up today and be punctual about it, and make sure that you understand what punctuality is, which is making sure you're showing up you're showing up for a better way. You're making sure no matter what, you're connecting the dots together. You're making sure that you're always a person who can speak a much greater way. You're always making sure that you're going slow or that you're going fast. You understand? You're making sure that you're speeding up your life in a way you're learning faster and faster and faster, and that way you're going to understand, you're going to build agility from that. You understand that you'll be the perfect person in your life that's much better than yesterday. You always have to make sure that you're never perfect, although you're just better than perfect. You understand? You're just better than who you are today. And I promise you, that's how you gain agility. I promise you, it's really about you and how are you growing today. Because many people will reject you, or they just never reject yourself. I promise you, most people who are doing the drugs, I promise you, they're rejecting themselves too, while everybody else is rejecting them. You understand? So never be that person who is doing drugs. You understand? I never care about the pub and the pub's music. I never care about the bar and the nightclub and who's coming to the nightclub. You understand? Because guess what? It's about entrepreneurship and it's about business and it's about traveling the world more than you are with your friends who are never going to follow you around the world anyway. You have to understand that most of the crowd will never follow you. You understand? I promise you, nobody's going to follow you when you're more successful than them. You realize that when you're a person who's growing and you have more ability, you understand that you just go and set yourself up for success because you deserve it. You deserve more success in your life, so be that type of person who can function in a way that you're understanding that each and every single word that's coming out of your mouth is much better. You understand? You're doing something that's really going to boost your emotional ability to speak in front of a crowd much better. So I do it in the street performance. I make sure no matter what that I speak based on what's going to grow me today. And what grows me is my emotions today, and I make sure that I can also use my mind, I can use my emotions. I make sure I'm using my emotions now to make sure that I'm more comfortable in my growth and in my communication. I'm making sure that I can picture myself in a functional way much more, understand? Because you have to be much more in life. You have to be that person who has much more intent and much more quality and much more of everything that you ever need to make sure that you're succeeding in a greater way every time. You have to understand, you forgive life more and more and you build agility like that. You understand? You build a person of high intent when you're worthy much more, so be more worthy every single day and make sure that you understand that you are worthy. You have to understand that you can say I'm worthy. You have to understand that is the real way to go and build agility, and you have to understand you go and read about worthiness and how to build clarity and how to build a mindset and how to build a business around whatever you're doing. You have to understand that whatever you're doing in life, you can do it when you're looking inside, and you have to write about it all the time because you're passionate about it. You have to write it down. You have to write it into a video. You have to write it into an audio. You have to write it down. You have to write quotes about it. You have to do something about it. And then you do it for free. You have to understand that I've been doing my work for free for all my life now. I realized I started charging before. I realized that nobody needs to even give me money because guess what? They never believe in what I have to say. So guess what? When I do it for free, I realized they don't even believe that. You understand? So guess what? You just be a person who's doing it for free, and that way you understand that it's never about getting money from others. I realize it's really about that passion that you have, and you go explore it and go do it for free, because when you're doing it for free, you're doing something for nothing, and that way you're going to be much more in your field when you're practicing what you love each and every day, and that way you can understand that it's really about your growth that matters. I promise you when you're growing today, I promise you did something amazing. I promise you when you're growing today and you're better than yesterday, you're a thumbs up. You understand? So be that type of person who understands that when you're growing your skills every single day, you're going to be better and better and better, and that's what life is about. You understand? So be that type of person who understands that life is about today and what you're doing today to help another person. I realize that when you're doing something today, you may be going on the street, you may be a person doing it online. I realize I do it on the street so I can build my confidence. I realize confidence is coming from within. You understand? You be that type of person who understands confidence. You're a person who understands freedom. You understand something? When you're a person who, I promise you, when you're a person who inspires people, you're a person who gains attention. So make sure that you gain more attention, because that way you will also learn how to grow yourself. I promise you, growing yourself is the best rainbow you ever have. I promise you, it's the best inspiration you ever have. So be that person who can grow. I promise you, you learn how to grow through people who are more successful. I promise you, they're more successful because they have a better lifestyle than you. I mean, they can travel the world. Are you able to travel the world? I promise you, if you're not able, I promise you, if you're not able to travel worldwide right now, you have to learn and grow right now, please. You have to understand, you be that whole person who understands that if you have somebody in your life who is inspirational, I need you to learn and grow from them, because that's the best way of life. You understand? I promise you, that's the best way of life. And you need to be a person who understands that, I like it, you understand? Because you understand that I am a person who sings that Pizza Hut delivery commercial song, although you understand that I never eat pizza. I just love the method, you understand? So be that person who understands that you just put a like it in there, because it's You have to understand, you be that type of person who understands that when you're lifting and you're looking better, you're a person in fashion design, you're looking much greater than yesterday, you are a person who has better muscles, you're a person who has more ability in yourself, you're a person who has more heart, you're realizing that Tai Chi is the way to go, so make sure you have more Tai Chi because that's going to help you also to have more agility, and you're also going to have more confidence in the process. You're going to have more better communication skills, you're going to write more because the better you write, the better your life. Understand? Because I had to write so much in terms of my life. I had to write so much in my life to make sure that I can grow from everything I'm saying. So you have to understand that in order for me to speak so good, I have to write more and more every day. I have to make sure I stay away from most places in life. I have to make sure I set myself up for success, because that way you're going to be more successful. You're going to do something much greater. You're going to do something that's worth it. You're going to do something that's really powerful. You have to understand that is the way to go, and you're making sure that you're always going further than anybody. And that way you're going to be more in discomfort, and that way you're going to grow more. You have to understand the best way is right now. You do it right now, and you understand you're living in the body, because the body is mattering in this moment. You understand? So be that person who's living in the moment. You understand to accomplish more every single day. You're always mucking around in a way that you're never mucking around, because mucking around is fooling around, and when you're fooling around, you're never growing. That's what I'm saying. You never fool around. You just make sure you're serious to grow yourself every day, and I promise you that you'll have all the fun in the world when you're growing. I promise you that life is easier when you're growing. Understand? I promise you when you're a person who's never planning and never writing in your journal, I promise you that's the worst ever. I promise you, I used to be a person around the age of 20 and 21 and 22 and 23. I had no journal. I promise you from those days, I promise you that I was thinking too much. I was reading too much, although the reading is excellent, although I was never writing my thoughts down. And because I write my thoughts down every single day, I have clarity now. I have so much clarity, I have so much agility, I'm so much more of who I am. And you have to understand, because I'm so much more of who I am every single day, you have to understand I'm always growing. I'm pushing myself to grow. I push myself into my emotions, make sure that I tie my emotions together with my communication so I can really be my emotions more as I speak, because it's about personal development and making sure that you can speak every single day, and making sure that no matter what, you're always a more successful person, because it's about free falling in a way that you're allowing life to lead you in a way that you understand that you lead much greater anyway. You have to understand you get led much better. You understand? So to be led, you have to understand you have to lead yourself. You have to be that person who's leading yourself every single day, because you're worth it, you're doing something amazing, you're doing something that's really going to help you. You have to understand that way you're going to understand that no matter what happens, you'll only focus inside. And that way, every time I focus on my body and my emotions, I'm always focused on the inner world of my life. And when I'm doing that, when I'm more in my emotions, I realize I get happier. I'm more feeling throughout life. I can feel this whole tunnel when I live in my body. Although when I'm doing it with my mind, I just live in the mind, and then guess what? I realize that I have no consciousness about what's going on around me, because I was too focused on my mind. I realize I'm a person who just lives in the body. I live in my emotions. I live in the heart. I realize I have no mind anymore. You understand? I listen to the Buddha when the Buddha says, have no mind. And I promise you that's a spiritual way. I promise you the best spiritual way in your life is be greater than yesterday and do something more amazing. I promise you that's the only way to go. I promise you when you're interesting, you'll also be a person who's doing something more interesting. You'll be doing something much greater than yesterday. You'll be doing something that's really worth it. You'll be doing something that's really going to help you move forward. I promise you that's the best way. I promise you the best way is make sure that no matter what, you'll be a person who's never racist. I never need you racist. I never need you to be a person who is distinguishing anything worse. I need you to realize that you go and distinguish the good and evil, or there be the good side only. You understand? You be the good side. I realize that's how to build more agility. You understand? You be part of the good. You're doing the good. You're never the person going to jail. You understand? You never go to jail because nobody's going to bail you out. I promise you never rely on other people. You rely on yourself the most, and that way you're going to have more clarity, and you're going to be feeling more love when you're in front of people and you're doing your work. I realize that's the best way. I promise you, all my friends that are in the past, I promise you they have wives, I promise you they have kids, I promise you they have the crowd, I promise you they're in the same area for 1 year already. I promise you I've been traveling Australia, I've been around 260 places in 1 year. I promise you they've just been in one place. You understand? I've been all over Australia. You understand? So I still have to go Darwin, I still have to go Alice Springs, although you understand that I'm always accomplishing more. I'm always a person who has more money. I'm always a person who has something more to give. Because when you're a person who has something more to give, you're growing, and you're growing intentionally, you're growing as a person, and when you're growing as a person, you understand that you're a divine being. You understand you're a divine person in divine, I promise you, a divine person in divinity that's living in a being. You have to understand the being is what you are inside, and that's something out of this world. You understand? So be a person who connects with yourself every day, with your emotions, and let go. I mean, let go of life, because when you're letting go, you're going to understand agility. You understand? Because when you're so tense in life, when you're so tense, you're going to have so much anger. You understand? So never be tense. I never need you tense. I need you to be a better person in the process. I need you to understand a better mentality is going to get you in a better way. You have to understand that those people who understand a better life are the ones who are really growing foundationally and making sure that no matter what, they're doing something much better than yesterday. So be that type of person who's increasing their skills and making sure that you're never lost, because when I look at other people and I'm in the feelings, I promise you I'm always looking inside. I promise you when I look in my mind, I promise you, although they understand that I'm in the body always, you understand? I never do anything with the mind anymore, although you understand that you can use the mind and you can use the thoughts around the mind. You just make sure you write it down in a video or in the audio or in a book or in a quote or something like that, or in your journal. You have to understand, I have 5 ways of really communicating. I have my journal, I have my video, I have my audio, I have my quotes, I have a book, you understand? I just go write it down. I just go write everything down. You have to understand, it's either you're writing or doing audio work or doing video work. I do everything, guys, because over the next 10 years, you understand that those people who are really living life are going to start doing much more writing and video work and audio work, you understand? Because guess what? If you're not producing content today on social media, I promise you, you're falling behind. So make sure you're doing something today to increase your communication skills, because that's the best way to lead, you understand? So be that person who understands that leadership has everything to do with gaining agility. So the more agility you have, you'll be like that person who's the fastest man in the world, you understand? Because that's inspiration. I mean, when you can when you can run as fast as that, you understand that you can also learn as fast as that, you understand? So make sure you understand that you're a person who can really lead in a way that you understand that no matter what happens, you're always focusing on yourself, you're always making sure that your life is a much greater one than yesterday. You're always doing something to make sure that you can live life, you're living life much greater, you're doing work in front of people, and that is the way to go. I like it, So be that type of person, or else you be that type of person who is much greater than yesterday, so you can be that type of person who is growing, and that way you understand that each and every word and sentence that you say, you're doing your I intent, you're doing your you intent, you're growing with the you in action, and you're understanding the question mark is your life, you understand? So question everything, and that way you understand more agility, you understand, because those people who understand to grow themselves in every single way possible, I promise you they're living in their feelings more, and the people who can understand a better way. I promise you the better way is emotions. I promise you the better way is making sure you're freedom. I promise you the better way is making sure that no matter what, you're never lost, because what's important is right now. I promise you, when you're understanding that life is right now, you're going to take more action, and you're going to be a person who is a decider who can take action, and you do that by writing it down. You do it by writing it down first, you plan it, and then you take action upon it. I promise you, that's called agility, you understand? Because the more people who can understand that life is about agility are the ones who are growing, you understand? So be a person who's very much fast in terms of speed and what you're doing, and you're making sure that you're always functioning in a better way. You're making sure that you're doing something positive, you're making sure that you're doing something amazing, because when you're more amazing, I promise you that you'll be a person who's healthier, I promise you you'll be a person who's positive, I promise you have something to say, I promise you when you have something to say, you'll do something better than yesterday. You understand? So be that type of person who can really emphasize with people in a way that you're lifting them, because when you're emphasizing in a better way, you understand agility, and when you understand agility, you'll be talking in a better manner, and you're ignoring the crowd, because what's important is what's coming from the inside, and when you're ignoring the crowd, you also love yourself much more like that. Understand? So be that type of person who's ignoring most of the people and going to the people who matter, and those are the people who are giving you ideas based on entrepreneurship and business and mindset and how to improve your life. So those are the people who are mattering. I've realized that those are the people who matter the most. You understand? You have to be a person who's a mattering person in the moment. You have to realize that you just connect the dots together, and that way you understand communication skills, that you go and realize that those who matter and those people who are mattering every day much more and more are the ones who are giving more information that is positive. You have to understand that you go and relate every single word with every single word, because that way you'll boost your communication skills, and that is how to build agility, because flexibility is also communication, and those people who can communicate better are also able to sell better, and also able to have a better attitude, and also they are able to do anything in their life to make sure that they are living and pronouncing their words and living them also. And that's the whole point of life, because when you live your words, you also live your talk, and when you live your talk, you'll be a successful person who is much better than yesterday. And that way you're going to build momentum, you're going to be a person who's far greater than everybody, because that's why you show it. You show it every single day. And people are going to be in denial of you and how successful you are, and they're going to hate you because you're so successful. And you don't care because you're just growing anyway, and you're just giving free information. You have to understand that they hated Jesus too, so make sure you're growing anyway. You understand? So be a person who can grow as Jesus can. You understand? So in order for you to do that, you have to learn about Jesus. You understand? You have to learn his habits. You have to understand that it's about habits, and habits is everything. You have to understand that habits is your destiny, and who you are today must be better than yesterday. You understand? You must be a person who's better than yesterday, and you have to understand that the most recent 5 years is going to look at, eventually it's going to look like the next 5 years unless you're bettering your life today. So be that type of person who's bettering your life every single day and functioning better and making sure that you're looking better and having much more clean skin and making sure that you're always cleaning yourself, you're showering every single day, you're brushing your teeth every single day, because you have to understand that you need to look better. You need to look better, you need to realize that you need to go long term with everything that you're saying. You have to realize that when it's cold, you just keep going, because guess what? You're never cold in life. I need you to say, I'm not cold, and that way you never be sick. You understand? You never have a coldness in life. You never be around people who are sick, because that way you become sick. You understand? I realize that when you're a person who becomes sick, I promise you, when you're a person who becomes sick, you're around sick people. So stay away from sick people, and that way you'll never be sick. You understand? I've realized that I stay away from the hospitals now because Grant Cardone says so, and that way I understand that it's really because there are so many sick people, and I've got nothing to do there anyway. And I never do what other people say, I do what other people do. You understand? So you have to understand that what you understand in life is be a better person, and make sure that you understand that places in life is to stay away from. You have to understand that you stay away from 99% of the world, because what matters is this moment, and you have to bring everything into the moment right now and set goals today to make sure that you're more successful and doing something much more incredible. You have to understand that most people will never have the courage to come on the street and do anything, because you have to understand they believe that a person on the street who is doing the work and doing the passion is an unsuccessful person. So you have to understand that is never the way to go, and you have to understand that those people who are doing anything on the street have more attention, and when you have more attention, you're more successful, although they believe that you are a nobody and that you are nothing much in life, because when you're on the street, you're actually more courageous than the ones who are never doing it. You have to understand that it's really that most people just believe that those people on the street have got nothing to give, and you have to understand that you go and give something anyway. You have to understand that when you're on the street, you're doing it far better than the ones who are never doing it on the street. You understand? So make sure that you understand that you're inspiring somebody, because you're on the street, and when you're on the street and you're doing your content, you have to understand that most people can never do that. You understand? So be a person who's always much more courageous, and you're always much more growing, because you have to understand that you're going to do your work anyway. You have to understand you're going to do it in front of people because you're worth it. You're worth all the money in the world. You understand? You're priceless. So be that type of person who can get on the street and go do your work, because most people can never do it. You understand? So I promise you that most people say, I can do it, I can do it, I can do it, and then they never do it. You understand? So realize that many people lie, and be the person who is 1% of the world who is never lying. You understand? So integrity is also called agility. You have to understand that confidence is called agility. I promise you that courageousness is called agility. I need you to increase your courage. I need you to understand to go and learn everything, because when you're more interested, you're learning everything about everything, and you're understanding that you're just a passionate dog in terms of divine being nature. You understand? You're a divine being. You understand? Because I'm as passionate as a dog. You understand? So guess what? I'm that much love. You understand? I'm just giving love. I've only got love to give, and that way you understand you become an unconditional person who understands that no matter what happens, you're a person who's smart. You're a smart person. You're a smart ass, and that way you're a smart Alex, because a smart Alex can do agility. You understand? So be that type of person who has the health and the wealth and the success that you need today, because that way you understand that when you're growing and you're doing something amazing, you understand that you're really in your emotions and you're doing it every single day in a better way. You're taking your time and you're slow and steady wins the race, because each and every time I get on the street now, I realise it's my day 5. I realise I learned something more about my emotions and how I can do it in front of people much better. I realise that you need to go and practice and practice and practice. First, I realise that first you have to do it in your house and where you are. I realise I've been doing a lot of videos around the go around Australia. I realise now I do it on the street around Australia. In a sense, so guess what? That's amazing. I realise the amazing thing is that I get to practice for free. I realise I get attention for free. I realise when you're doing that, you're doing something amazing, you're promoting yourself because you're worth it, you're doing something that's really beyond incredible, because you're better than yesterday, and nobody can fool you. I mean, when they say you're a nobody and you're better than yesterday, I realise they're stupid idiots, because guess what? You're better than yesterday, you understand? I mean, they can never ever tackle you down and say that you're nobody. I mean, you're a somebody to somebody, and you must be a somebody in the world all the time. So be that person who's always giving something much more incredible because you're worth it, you understand? Because that way you can understand to grow, you understand? Because those people who have emotion can also lead you. You have to understand that when you're leading with emotion, you understand that you're always going to have much more happiness. And today I'm increasing my happiness because guess what? I today am going into emotions, I'm letting go, and I'm moving around in the process to make sure that I can communicate as I go along and also gain the attention I need, because that's what's important. I promise you the important nature of your life must be to get in front of a crowd eventually and also speak in front of a crowd to make sure no matter what that you're a person who can succeed much greater. So just practice and practice and practice, because over the next 72 years you understand how much more success I'll have, because I'll be on the street doing my work every single day. I'm always doing my work. I'm making sure that always, every single day, I'm doing something incredible to make sure that my work is done much greater than yesterday. I'm always talking from the heart. I'm always talking from the emotions. I've always got something to give. I'm always giving you something more to learn and grow from. You have to understand, you're always thinking in the moment. You understand, you're never thinking. You're just thinking on paper. You're writing all down. You never have to think. You just write it down. You understand? Because when you're never writing it down, it builds up in your mind, and then you start to think a lot, and then when you're never writing it down, you have brain fog. I need you to take away the brain fog and write it on paper. And you should understand, you have the Pokedex. I mean, your phone is your Pokedex from Pokemon, you understand? So go and write everything down in your journal. I promise you have a nice, beautiful note system. I promise you can go and look at my examples online. You have to understand, you go and use my resources to better your life. I realize that no matter what, I'm a coach on wheels, you understand? So be that type of person who can go and coach other people, because it's really about your growth, you understand? I mean, most people walk away from you when you're doing a street performance, although you understand that when you're a person who's growing, you don't care, because it's really never about them. I realize it's about growth. I realize it's about you growing. So you go and realize you put yourself inside your body, and you go and do a street performance in your body, and that way you're going to let go and let God, and that way you're going to realize that it's much more worth it to have some more attention. You have to understand that those people who have attention are the ones who are going to succeed more and more, because eventually more and more people are going to promote you, and that way you're going to be a better person for it. I realize that when you're a better person for it, you're going to have a better attitude, and as Dr. Wayne Dyer says, you're going to have a person in life who is you, who's much better than yesterday, and attitude is what you saw, as Dr. Wayne Dyer says. So have a better attitude, and that way you're never giving people an attitude, you're giving people a better attitude. You understand? Because that's the whole point of life. I realize that the whole point of life is be a better person than yesterday, and do something today foundational that's really going to help you move forward. I realize that a nice beautiful speaker, which is $90, can help me do a nice beautiful measuring points where I can go do a street performance and make sure that no matter what happens, I'm always growing from it. I'm always growing from each and every single word that I say, because that's what life is about. You have to understand that life is about growth, and those people who have no growth are the ones causing violence. I promise you they're the ones who are negative. I promise you they're the ones who are living for the weekend. You understand? Because I live every day to grow. I never need the drugs. I never need the drugs, guys, because guess what? I'm better than drugs. You understand? I need you to be healthy. I need you to realize that it's really about an agility lifestyle, where you understand that you need to walk faster, you need to do faster, you need to do everything with speed. You need to be effective. I never need you to be right or wrong. I need you to be a person who's better than efficient, because efficient is a right way or wrong way, you understand? Because they're trying to be perfect. I never need you to try to be perfect. I need you to be better than perfect. I need you to do something that's really going to measure your self-discipline much greater, and that way you're going to be a much greater person. You're going to do something much greater today, and that way you're going to be more of an inspiration. You're going to realize that you have what you need to succeed, because it's in your communication, and in your communication you can find God in that. You understand? You can find everything. You can find everything in wisdom. You understand? I promise you that communication skills breed ideas, and ideas is everything that you ever need. You understand? I promise you, ideas is the wisdom of life. I promise you, every single word that I say, you can never elaborate on it. I promise you that wisdom is God. I promise you, God is wisdom. You understand? So be a person who understands that you know nothing about life. I know nothing about life, and that's why we're going to grow. You understand? We're still going to grow. I promise you, we're still going to learn, because we're never limiting ourselves to anything. I realize that it's really about let's learn more. I realize let's learn together. I realize let's be together in togetherness to make sure that we're detaching from each other, although we're still growing, because we have to detach. I promise you, those people attaching too much are the ones losing in life. I never need people around me. I never need people around me. I never need family people around me, because guess what? I'm a person always detaching from people. In a sense, so I make sure to grow myself. I'm making sure that I can learn on the go and be alone much more and more throughout life. Because life is a journey, and those people who go alone go the furthest. You understand? So be a person who's going alone, because you'll have more success than the people who are walking with the crowd, I promise you. So be that person who can understand that when you're feeling chilly, you have to understand you go and get yourself something much greater, and that's wisdom. You have to understand you be a person of wisdom nature, and you be a wisdom worker today, and just be a person who's a knowledge broker, which means a life coach or something that is giving you information today, and be your own social media. You understand? Because that way you understand that you have a TV show and people are going to watch you through the test of time because you did 50 million videos, you understand? Because you got something to give. You're very interesting, you understand? And that's what you're working for. You're working for every single day that's going to make you greater. You understand? You're working for something greater in life, and you're making sure that you're always elaborating in a better way. You're making sure no matter what, you're being a person of high intent, you're making sure that you're a person who can increase your confidence. You're increasing your confidence in a way that no matter what happens, you're going to be better than yesterday. You're always learning, you're growing, and making sure that you're a person living life in freedom. You're living life in freedom because when positive people come up to you to say something, you just be positive, and that's the best way to be. I realize the positive people are more agility in nature, so you have to understand to go and be more agility in the process of living in this moment, because living in the moment is going to make you more of who you need to be. So make sure that you live in the moment to get rid of the anxious abilities that you have. You have to understand you may have an anxious ability where you get anxious, so be a person who has no anxiousness, and that way you understand you have to live in the moment. You have to understand that only thoughts will drive anxiety, so you have to go and write your thoughts down and put it into your Pokedex, and that way you understand that you will have no anxiousness. You have to understand that people who are irritated and jealous are the ones who are never producing more positivity in life. You have to understand, you got to be a person who's more positive, and you have haters and you have jealous people around you, and guess what? You stay away from them, and that way you understand that most of the crowd in terms of online, I never reply to them because guess what? I have no need to. I realise that you guys are only inspired, although you understand that I go and reply to the value that's given. You have to understand that I go where the value is, and whatever gives me value, I will reply. You have to understand that if I never reply to you, I realise it's due to how much value you're giving. You have to understand, you got to be that person who can give yourself value, and you're making sure that you're increasing your value every single day, because each and every time you do a video that's positive and giving a lot of value and skills and techniques and business ideas and planning strategies and organisation, I promise you that way you will be a leader, and that way you will muster the courage, which is also mustering the agility you need to make sure that you're travelling the world and doing something that is according to what you're passionate about. Because when somebody walks past you and gives you an opportunity, guess what? You gave yourself one. You understand? So be a person who understands you just got to put yourself in your body each and every single day. You're always never in the outside world, because there's no such thing as the outside world. You're only living inside. You're only living in the body. And that way you're going to sink into the moment, and you're going to live in the moment, and that way you're going to be more present. I promise you, when you're more present, you're going to be a person who's living longer and younger, and you're going to feel better. You're going to feel as great as a person who is doing better. You have to understand there's always somebody doing better than you in some area of life, so go and learn from them. I mean, go and learn from people who are greater. You understand? I promise you there's a greater person in one area of your life. You understand? You go and be a student, and that way you'll be greater. You understand? I promise you there's one person who's greater in some area of my life that has a better skill than me in some area, so I have to go and learn from them. You understand? So I'm making sure no matter what, I'm always inspired by people around me, and that way you understand that life is not a competition. You have to understand that life is really a competition between you and yourself, and you have to understand you have to look better, you have to feel better, you have to look better in your mentality and who you are. You have to understand you have to do better in life with yourself, and you're never competing with other people, because life is not a competition. You understand? I mean, life is just a competition with you and yourself, and you understand that when you do that, you understand that you're growing, you're leading people, you're doing something of inspiration. You understand? Because that way you understand that you're not alone, even though you are alone. Understand? So be a person who understands that togetherness in growth is the best idea, and people who are together who are never growing, I promise you I never need you to be around them. I need you to be around people who are together and who are growing only. Understand? So be around those people who are growing, and that way you'll be a leader. I promise you that way you'll be a more positive person in less anxiousness, because those people who have anxiousness are the ones who are never learning and growing. Understand? So be a person who is really doing something today that's really going to help you. I realize that when you revise your video, you revise it in a better way. You do something you've never done, and that way you're going to understand life. You're going to understand that life itself is growth. You're going to understand that whatever you're doing today is positive, and you have to understand that no matter what, you just be a positive person today, and that way you're going to gain more agility. You understand? Because life is about sports, and sports is just communication. In a sense, so the better communication is the better your life. I promise you, without communication, you cannot do anything. You have to understand, you need to communicate every day. And saying, because to communicate is to live longer, and those people who live longer have more agility. You have to understand, you go and do that every single day. You have to understand, you go and be a better person. You go and live a better lifestyle. You understand? You never pull people down, you make sure you're lifting people up, and that way you'll never be a bully. I promise you, you'll be a smarter person, and you're a person who is really in integrity, you're living inside the body, you're living inside your feelings, and you're showing people every single day that you can do it every single day because you're showing up and you're never doing it for people, you're doing it for something greater. In a sense, so realize that it's really about something greater here, and that way you understand that when you're doing something greater, you'll make people greater. Understand? So be a person who's never limited by the outside circumstances of your life. You have to understand that the circumstances is your growth, and you have to understand you have to grow yourself intentionally, as John C. Maxwell said. You have to be that type of person. You have to be that type of person who can grow. You have to be that type of person who's always living life much fully, and that way you understand that you're never scared of the world outside of you, because there is no world outside of you. You have to understand it's really inside that matters. You understand? And that way you're going to focus inside, you're going to do something really incredible, you're going to understand that whatever happens, you're going to grow from it, and that way you're going to pick yourself up much better, and you're going to be a better person in the process. You have to understand that you just be a person who can breathe. You have to breathe, you have to realize that when you're succeeding, I promise you it's a blessing. I promise you it's a blessing to be doing something that I've never done over here. I promise you it's on day 5. I promise you every single day is a new day, and I get to do my work. I realize now I'm staying consistent every single day and dedicated more and more, and I make sure that after my public speaking gig, I make sure that I prepare much more and more about the next day, which is in this moment. In a sense, so make sure you're showing up every single day. I make sure when I brand myself in one spot only, and then I make sure to move on and do my public speaking gig. And that way, you have to understand I have to do 3 hours every single day, and I have to achieve my goals every single day to build confidence and courage and make sure to grow myself. You understand? I have plenty of people asking me why am I here and what am I doing. I realize that I sit over here for 3 hours growing myself, and that way you understand that 3 hours people are walking past my social media, and they get to see my social media and stuff like that, and get to be inspired by me. You have to understand that those people who are never inspired by me will never be inspired. You have to understand that I'm better than this state. You have to understand that those people who are saying that I'm rude or ugly, I'm never ugly nor rude. You understand? So you realize no matter what, I don't care about what they think. You have to realize I'm never rude, I'm never ugly. I'm a person who's really growing. I realize that it's never about what they think about me. I realize that many people think about me in a low way and in a degrading manner because I'm doing a street performance, although you understand that they'll never do it. You understand? I promise you they'll never do it, because guess what? They've never done it before. I've done it. I have more courage, I have more wisdom, I have more success because I gain more attention. You understand? Because I'm not jealous, I'm not a jealous person, although I'm greater than jealous. You understand? So be a person who understands that you never be jealous, and you never be a person who is lowering yourself in your capability, and never degrade yourself either, because those people who are degrading and doing nothing are the ones who are degrading. And you never degrade people, you just lift them. You understand? You be like Jesus, because Jesus was only giving you parables and stories and about God and about Jesus, and making sure that you can lift yourself. You understand? So make sure that you understand you're going to speak your mind every single day, you speak your heart out, and you make sure you connect with your emotions while you're doing it. And that way you understand that each and every time you show up, you're doing something amazing and you're worth it every single day. In a sense, so go and build your worthiness today. You're going to realize it's worth it. You're going to realize that each and every time you have better emotions with you, you'll realize that you have to build your skills within those emotions, and you're making sure that each and every time you complete 1 hour, you make sure to start your new video, and that way you can understand when you have a blank. I realize that when you have a blank, you keep talking, and that way you understand that you're never losing. You're never losing. You have a little pause. Understand? You have a little pause. You breathe in the blank, and that way when you have blanks coming up, you understand that you have no information, and then you understand you have more information once you take a pause, and you understand that the information is always coming from the inside. I realize that I have information when I run into a blank where I've got nothing to say, or else I'll take a little pause, or else I invest a little pause, I breathe, I then find something to say, and I realize it comes from emotion. I realize it comes from the heart, and that way you have more agility because you're speaking from the heart, and you have integrity, and you understand that life is going to never grace you unless you grace yourself. So be that type of person who's gracing yourself, because everything is made by you, and the world is yours when you're growing. I'll see you guys in the next video.